bonus episode. So I had the great pleasure recently of speaking with Michelle and Jenna, these fabulous ladies out of Detroit. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but definitely acquaint yourself with their links below. They've got some amazing work. They're based out of Detroit. They do some amazing styling and photography, set design, art direction, you name it. They just recently moved into this fabulous, huge space just as lockdown began. And what do creatives do? I mean, some of us shut down, but these gals like fired up and started cranking out some pretty amazing work. It was my great pleasure to have a conversation with them recently, and I cannot wait to introduce you to them. Don't forget to check out their links below, follow their Instagram, all that good stuff, and subscribe because this is not the end of this. This is just, we're busy. So episodes, if you subscribe, you will not miss them for sure. Without further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome. It is so great to have you guys here. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. Tell me a little bit about you, what you do, and where your passion lies in this.
Me? Yeah, you go first.
I'm Jenna Belevender, and this is Michelle Gerard. We're a photography team based out of Detroit, photography and creative direction team.
We've now turned into art direction, creative direction, food styling. It's the whole thing.
Yes.
And we have just moved into our studio right as COVID hit Michigan. So this is a brand new thing for us all
around. No kidding. So, okay, I have to say, your Instagram is so inspirational. It's amazing. And also, so the prop house, so that's you guys too, right?
Yes. Yeah. So
forget about that.
There are zero prop houses in Michigan. The closest one would be Chicago. And so
that's a bit far.
It was very difficult when we started doing our own shoots and trying to style elements. And I was looking for a lot of vintage. And as you know, Etsy is not cheap. And even trying to find the right elements for a specific shoot, because I was doing era specific shoots. So I needed Art Deco or, something very specific where I was looking only online, and I'm like, this is adding up really quick, and I have nowhere to go and just search through a whole bunch.
And
of
this
stuff.
Was pre-pandemic.
Yeah, this was pre-pandemic even when I was doing this.
So you collected for like 4 years for one
project. Yeah, I was doing.
It took so long.
No,
but I was doing a project called The Artist Diet, which is about the food rituals of artists and writers, and each scene was exactly how they would have been set up. So we're talking like I was looking for things from the 1920s that would be in a hotel in North Carolina. And
right. Yeah. Easy. No problem.
Yeah, exactly.
So the big boy ones were tough too.
Yeah. Big boys in the 90s in LA, which is where Lynch would go every single day for a chocolate milkshake and like 5, 6, 7 cups of coffee with lots and lots of sugar. And that was where he credited sugar to his creativity. And I thought that was super interesting. And that's how the project started. I wanted to
other people would just be like, I just went to a Big Boys and I just like pocketed some stuff from Big Boys. She went as far as to go find era specific and then took it a step further and found samples of his handwriting and like had them printed on old diner napkins.
Because he would write all of his ideas on napkins. So it all had to be very specific.
Just get a strong attention to detail. So having the prop house has been extremely useful because in the prop house and the space, it's all one big area. When we shot The Artist Diet, she collected for years, and then we shot all 12 of them in one day.
In the basement of
my
unfinished apartment building.
It was not ideal, and so now we can work in a project for a couple of days or however long it takes us, and then we have kind of a treasure trove in the back room, like 700 square feet back there.
Yeah. 700 square feet of
so many people jealous.
Well, we hope that local people will come and rent the space and use the props, and we've been trying to
rent the props.
We've been trying to put the word out and say, like, come check out what we've got, because we would love to see other creative projects done here.
Yeah. Well, I already saw the Coben style. I was like, Good taste. Well, okay. So what's your, this is insane. And it all sounds very awesome, art school project, but how did you, first of all, get into all this? What's the background?
I'll let you start with your story.
My story is, I moved to Detroit from like a very remote part of Michigan.
I'm from Lansing-ish. I lived there for 5 years.
I'm from Sault Ste. Marie. It's like all the way in the Upper Peninsula. It's like it's before you hit Canada. Like you're either Canada or the United States. That's all the way up where I-75 ends. So that's where I'm from. I moved here in 2009, and I mean, no one really wants to hire someone that doesn't have any experience. They don't even want them to like be on set because just nobody wants that kid on set, which is fine. And I sort of get it now, but I'm like, it would have been nice to get a photo job, but I just started working in restaurants and like, no one wanted me to take photos for them. So I would just work and bus tables. And then the nice people that worked with me let me take photos for them and they would pay me, but they weren't really hiring me because I was a good photographer. They hired me because I was a nice hard worker, and I did an okay job. And then liquor distributors got my names and other restaurants did. And I just kind of started from there. And that's how I started. And it just kind of snowballed and blossomed.
Well, how many years are we talking? So you said 2009 and then.
Yeah, like 10-ish years. It took me until 2000, probably 14 or 15 before people were like, we want to pay you real money. We'll give you some money. And so you can kind of quit your other jobs. When I met Michelle in 2016, we met because I saw her like her exhibit basically at this building opening. It was really beautiful. It was like this beautiful restoration downtown.
Nice.
And I had been a follower of her work for a long time. And she was the one who convinced me, like, you don't have to do like part-time work anymore. You can just do whatever you want to do. And like, ask me questions that no one else had ever asked me. Like, what do you really want to do though? Like, what are you super passionate about? And so we really became like fast friends and then fell in love because of that. And now we work and do everything together.
Yeah. But I actually started college when I was 16, and I took a couple of photography classes. And then after about like 2 years, it was kind of came down to like, do I go and do I try to get a full degree in this? And I couldn't get into the schools I wanted because I didn't have the money. So, and it just came down to money. And so I'm like, well, I'm just going to start a business and see how it goes. And so I was a wedding photographer for 10 years. So I started my business in 2003. And so I've been in it for a while. I can't remember how long ago now it's been switched to commercial, but after 10 years of weddings, I was like, you know what? I'm ready for a change. This was good. This was a good way to learn. You learn a lot shooting weddings. And
it's very similar to being a busser at a
And
restaurant.
I went straight from that into shooting editorial and just going on jobs where it was like, they were sending me to openings of restaurants and restorations in Detroit because that was what everybody was talking about. And then I started meeting the restaurant owners. And so that's how I started with the actual food photography. So that's how I got started in food photography.
We both really like food too.
Yeah, we just love food.
So when you guys
travel just for food, so
that makes sense. I mean, that's the only way to go, right?
For food and for bathtubs. We don't have a bathtub here, so we go places just for like really fancy bathtubs.
People have started learning that about our Instagram too.
Yeah, they follow us for bathtub content.
Oh my God, that's kind of funny because you have a huge space there. I mean, I would think you should be able to pull that off.
Right? We're tempted just to get some bathtubs down here and figure it out. I'm sure my landlord won't notice.
No big deal.
It'll be fine.
But so, like, when you were young, and this goes to both of you, did you envision yourselves growing up to be photographers, or did you have something else in mind?
When I was like 18, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, but I really liked writing and I wanted to go into photojournalism because I liked taking photos. I didn't think I was really good at it, but I enjoyed it. And I really liked journalism and writing, and like so many young people just like really loves the idea of being a writer, but all the journalism classes at my college were full for like 2 years and I just couldn't get into any of them. And so
that stinks.
And it was around like 2009. And so I don't know if you remember around this time, they fired all the regular writers and photographers at like Life magazine. And like, there were so many big changes in the journalism world. I was like, maybe this isn't the best for like money. And I was going to community college. So I was just picking up classes during the day. And then at like 2 p.m. I would start at restaurants at like my restaurant job and then work until like 3 or 4 in the morning. And so it was a little hectic. I say I went to school for 2 years, but I tried to take a journalism class. I just never got into it. So photography seemed like the best way to continue. And you pretty much always wanted to do it?
I always took photos, even when I was a kid, but I was also just I loved crafts. I loved making anything.
You're still so crafty.
So that's what I really like about being in the studio now, is that I get to explore more of that side of it and get to really build scenes. So that's been a lot of fun. But I think I've always had some hand in photography, even from when I was a kid.
You could have been so many things, though. You're so good at crafts. She really is.
I'm not that good.
Like the petit fours that you made, I was so impressed that you made those.
I almost was going to ask about that. Yes. Because I was like, where do you even get those? But
makes them.
We just take inspiration out of very old Better Homes and Gardens, like 1970s, like books and cookbooks. And we have a decorating book here that we reference. That's really great.
See if I can find a good one.
You have to find a good page.
I opened up to a really great one. Every window has a treatment.
Oh my God.
So we have a lot of these books lying around, and we'll just flip through them and be like, "Oh, we should do something with this."
Old magazines. We find old magazines from like anywhere from like the 40s to like the 90s. The 90s are really fun to look at. And people don't have those as much because they're not like as like fun vintage yet.
They will be.
They will be soon. But when we find them, we really love them, especially like anything that's like a 90s aesthetic. It's really fun to try and recreate.
It's so weird having grown up as in the 90s and the 80s.
No, yeah.
And now it's like going to be cool. Because we knew it wasn't even when we were in it. I'm telling you. Like you can't fool me. It was not cool. But okay. It will be now. It has its second chance.
I would say we always just like things that are very nostalgic, or things that remind you of something that either you grew up with or maybe it was in your grandparents' house. And so I think we like nostalgic food better than we like pretty food. Like
we like very homey things
or storytelling.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, you definitely have a very illustrative technique. I mean, so I went to school for art and I was an illustration major, and like I look at your work and I'm just like, oh my God, this is like amazing. This would be like, if I knew that this kind of work existed when I was in school, I would have been like, well, I could be a photographer. I didn't turn into a photographer because I like aspired to be one. I turned into a photographer because I was tired of painting. So it was like, I need something faster. But like everything that you do tells a story. And I think that's really amazing. And I don't think that's easy to do either. I think that takes a lot of skill. So
we never wanted to be studio photographers because we always loved shooting on location and going and traveling.
We were both really like editorial photographers. We both have it's not really as prevalent on our website. We put it in kind of like the archive photo journal area of our website because we still will do it no matter what.
And things are changing now.
It's our fun passion stuff that we do on the side. And we just love editorial shooting, but the studio is where we were like, we're never going to shoot in a studio. It's boring. There's nothing but white walls and I don't think saw the overly commercial.
We weren't seeing the kind of work that we wanted to do. And so we didn't really realize it was an option. And then once we started exploring it, we're like, we can run with this. Like if we can, and once COVID hit and we were just kind of like stuck here, we're like, let's just make a bunch of weird scenes for nobody but ourselves. We're like, nobody's going to care about these. But
it was our art therapy.
It was something for us to do.
No, and I was looking through and like all of the stuff I was gonna ask. I want to ask you a million things, but one of the things I was gonna ask is like, so the whole lockdown thing, it seems like you both just sort of like had a bonanza of creativity, whereas a lot of us kind of like shut down and we're like, I don't know what to do, like where do I go, what do I do, and like the way that everything functioned changed so much. But then you guys just like, it looks like just dove right in and we're like, oh, goody.
It was the first time we had the time, the space, and all of our props.
I mean, we were coming from like a 700 square foot apartment and then one storage unit where we would put things and be like, oh, we'll use it later. Like,
right.
I guess we had no room. Most of our assignments and clients were in other places. And if we needed to rent a studio for something, it was always an option. There are some like out in the suburbs that we could rent, but we never had the ability. And we had been like just chomping at the bit to get a space and to, have the ability to stretch out and be creative. And we were intending on buying a space this year. And it just lined up, just so happened that the person we were going to buy from was potentially out of town for a month. And we're like, you know what? Let's just get this space. And then we can, in the next year, we'll decide. We'll still have our money. I mean, where's it going to go?
Well,
where are our savings? How would we blow through that much money?
But the space really worked out. The timing could not have been better. It was crazy.
Yeah, it worked out well for us, and we got to go. And so everyone stopped emailing us. There's no more emails.
No more
Everyone
emails.
left us alone. We couldn't really leave the house, and so we were like, I guess we'll just do a shoot a day, because I mean, what else are we doing? We'll get up in the morning, we'll make our like coffee and our breakfast, and then we'll just dig in and we'll do whatever we want to do. And I mean, we had 1,000 square feet of props that we had never used, and we're like, well, we just got all this stuff that, well, now we have the time to use it. We would order food occasionally.
Yeah,
we didn't make.
We like to order food from our restaurant clients that we couldn't be working with, because so we would go and get carry out and take it back here, and then do some kind of shoot with it, and then share it and tag them so that other people knew that they were doing carry out. We were trying to find ways to still keep in touch with all of our clients too.
Yeah, and help them out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to talk a little bit about some of the images that you sent over. So let's see here. This first one is the expensive pineapple. Tell me about this.
So these are a set of 3 that we just did that I'd been wanting to do for a couple of years. It's about the weird history of food. And it started with the lobster. And the lobster is because lobster used to be prison food. It was considered like the cockroach of the sea. And so it was fed to like your pets, and and so I wanted to do a really elaborate shoot where we had a ton of lobster on just like a prison tray. And I had just ordered some from, where did I order it from? I had it like overnighted. It was from
Gold Belly.
Yeah, it was from Gold Belly. And like, I had it overnighted. And she's like, when's the lobster?
I said, when is the lobster getting here? And she goes,
lobsters.
I was like, how many lobsters did you get?
I was like, 5.
You got 6? You got 6 lobsters. I'm like, you ordered 6 lobsters.
I was like, well,
were they alive?
No. We chose we were like, we're going to choose the cooked ones. I'm not going to order 6 live lobsters. That's ridiculous. But I was like, it looks silly with just one on the tray. I'm like, we're talking like piles of lobsters. So we did that one, and then we followed it up with the whole history of pineapples, and
poisonous tomatoes.
Yes, but pineapples used to be in equivalent to today's money about $8,000 for a pineapple, because they couldn't really get them all the way from Hawaii to England without them rotting. So instead, they built these very, very elaborate greenhouses, and they had to have round-the-clock care for like months at a time. And it was such an expensive endeavor. And
it would be the centerpiece of a party.
So and people would rent pineapples and carry them around if you couldn't afford to buy one, and then you would return it and somebody else would rent it.
You would buy it from the person who bought it for a party, and then it would get passed from party to party. That's why you see so many pineapple motifs. And older, like, why is there a pineapple motif in this like old Victorian painting?
And it became like this hospitality like symbol of wealth and like and being a good host. So I just really like the history of things. And then
it's making it look super Renaissance-y. We had all these we have these big movable walls in the studio, which is fun for us because we have a cork board and like a whiteboard on one side. So we had all these like old Renaissance paintings circled with notes on them. And
it's gorgeous.
It was really fun to do, and the poisonous tomatoes were fun. All of them were great. Michelle gets very much into the narrative and the details, and she's like, these
that no one will ever notice,
no one will
or ever pick up on other than me.
They're only for her.
They're only for me.
But she's like, this pewter plate is not the right era. We need a different pewter plate. We have like a stack of 20 pewter plates that she's like, but these ones aren't right.
This is newer. This would not be in the right time.
These are the ones we're looking at. And I'm like, okay. So if you look at the pewter plates that are in any of those photos, they are era specific.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and it's so the other thing that like the other adjective that comes to mind when I was looking at your work was also like cinematic.
I'm so glad, because that obviously is a huge inspiration for me. We are inspired by so many movies and TV, and I watch a lot of stuff about how like film directors and producers and production artists all approach like everything about the scene, from the lighting
been like
to
a fun YouTube dive for us.
Yeah, we've been watching a lot of what is it called? It's Indie Mogul and Film Riot, and they really break down like recent movies and TV.
Yeah.
How Uncut Gems was a great one. If you watch the one about Uncut Gems, they
writing it down.
they talk about how, how when you get a lot of money, but you grow up really poor, but then you get a lot of money, and your idea of what being rich is very vastly different from other people's.
And it's like 20 years dated.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense for like current day when you actually have money.
So you buy things like huge aquariums with fish in them, and like giant big screen TVs and these big lazy boy recliners. And they talk about how all of these things shape the character, and they really build the story of the character without saying anything. It's just by being in that space. So
it was the same thing about Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
There was a Parks and Rec one that was just like, they're just living in squalor.
Yeah, they're eating off a Frisbee because they don't want to wash any of their dishes.
It's just like very specific character building that we really get into when we're watching anything about set building. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
There's so much more storytelling that can go into it that pretty much it's just for us.
So we're bringing more of that into our photos.
Oh, no doubt. Because also, yeah, I mean, I want to talk about all your photos, but I would love people to understand also. So like, what is the relationship that you have with your clients right now? I mean, you've got such expressive and really interesting work. So like, who are the clients that you're working with, and like, how do those projects happen? What are they looking for from you guys?
So this is a new thing because we have done, up until this point, pretty much all of our clients were restaurants, and
besides a few, but mostly restaurants.
I would say like food and local was pretty much our number one thing, and everything disappeared like March 12th. But like everybody, all of our contracts were just
understandably. We know these people pretty well, and so the fact that they were like, we can't continue with this contract, and we can't even pay like a kill fee. We're like, I mean, I get it. You guys have zero money. You have to make sure your employees are taken care of. Like.
And something we were trying to work on even before that was we wanted to work with more direct-to-consumer brands because we loved what everybody was doing on Instagram. They were able to bring out creativity and personality in their brands that we just really wanted to run with. And one of the nice things about quarantine is that we connected with several people like on Instagram because everybody had the time, to
everyone was on their phones to like so much more.
And one of our favorites was club backdrops. They have great vinyl backdrops, and we just started talking because we did a photo based on Death Becomes Her, the movie, and
such a fun
one of them is a huge fan, and just starting talking to us back and forth in direct messages. And then they were telling us like, oh, we have a new line of backgrounds coming out. We would love to see what you guys do with them. Just do it like your style. And so that was great just to connect in such a natural, organic way. And it started out being just a really fun relationship and conversation. And then it turned into business, which was perfect for us.
Yeah.
So that's what we would like to do more of.
So during the pandemic, you went out and you found like a 1960s toaster, a wackadoo juicer, like what is it? Is it the smoke glass? Whatever it's called, like the salt shaker and the ashtray. Like, so how did you find all these props during the lockdown?
We're talking, this is Amazon, and things I already had in my
We already had most
storage.
of them.
I would
from
say
like estate sales, there's a couple thrift stores that we frequent like multiple times a week.
But at that point, during that shoot, I don't even think we were really going out yet again.
For backdrops?
Maybe just barely. They were only just barely opening things up again.
They were opening things up for essentials, and we could still get like groceries delivered. So there were things. We were limited. I would have loved to be able to go back out. We ordered a couple things from like Etsy. Certain things from the Ukraine just like didn't come till
they came 2 months later.
We're like, that's never. Really
we're like, we'll take a chance.
Learned our lesson. We can't order really great cheap things from the Ukraine
unless we have a very long timeline.
That's right. Yeah. Europe can be really hit or miss on Etsy. I ordered a cleaver once because it was like gorgeous, and I was like, oh my god, I don't even want to say how much I spent, but I should just because for the shock value alone. Like a vintage cleaver, $65.
Yeah,
we're like,
that sounds right. That sounds right.
But at the time, I was like, so worth it. And then it showed up literally like 4 days later from France. I was like,
yeah.
How did that happen?
Honestly, we ordered some backgrounds from where? Russia. Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
The background company in Russia, Woodville. We could not believe how fast they came.
We were like, these are either going to never show up or they're going to be here tomorrow. Because it said like your delivery date is in 3 days.
And we're like, okay.
Sure.
2 days later.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe we got to order that blanket from Speaking which, I really liked it. I'm still thinking about it. So we need to order it.
So yeah, we surprisingly were able to get quite a few things delivered to us during quarantine. But for the most of it, we were just working with what we had.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, so people need to go to the website. I will obviously publish that, but they need to see this whole series because it is so bananas. It's amazing. And it sings to me on a color level because it's like you
I'm
guys
so
took,
glad.
yeah, like, okay, it's green. You've got like this sort of like champagne color, the purple and black, like everything is so color coded. And that's like, I could live in this like universe that you guys are creating, and I'd be
like the whole like project mapping that you did for it beforehand was cool because she would be like, all right, these are the things I want to work on, and then she would show me like, all right, so there are these health beads from Japan or from Korea and she was like, they're like these like little like substitutes, but they look like these
they're
shiny
supplements. They're herbal supplements that they
yes,
sell in
and the
test
red
tubes.
set. Yeah,
That's a real product that
we faked.
Yeah, that we just faked.
We didn't think that would come in time, so we're like, we're faking this. We actually have a lot of food dye upstairs that's in like a rainbow color that we make a lot of fake cocktails, but like that little spidery, sugary web thing she has on top of the red drink. She made all of these. She spent so much and she's like, I don't think this is gonna work. And I'm like, just keep at it. Just see what happens. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But she made so many of these little candies.
But something that we do share on our website is our process. So we do try to share like kind of like the mood boards and what came before that and our process getting there, because we think that's interesting, and we hope that people want to work with us in that way to have the whole collaboration.
Yeah. I think it's spectacular to be able to see that, and so to see where your inspiration is from, and then see it all come together. Because I also thought it was really interesting. I think it was in here. Yeah, on your mood board that you actually have that juicer. You have the juicer. You took the time to cut it out and put it in its, so that it had a transparent background, so it would look really cool.
Believe it or not, that's just Canva, where the one-click remove background works very well.
We've been using Canva.
That's how I did that entire thing. Just one-click remove background.
It looks
Canva.
really nice on Canva. It's great. Plug for Canva.
Yeah,
they're doing a great
job.
Now they have to give us like some kind of referral.
They should give us something.
If Canva is looking for any photographers to, promote their fabulous service,
we're here.
Please. Okay, tell me about this like summer camp getup, because first of all, we have a cabin that we go to in northern Wisconsin, and this like is so fabulous. It's also very 80s, like what is it, like Meatballs or whatever was like the 80s camp.
Yes.
Like you've got this wood background. Is that actually like 3D, or is that like a vinyl?
That is wallpaper.
It's wallpaper from Amazon.
Peel and stick wallpaper.
Way. Yeah, it's like cabin wallpaper, log cabin wallpaper.
So that one, so Flint Eastwood, who is now Jack Sanderson, the musician, she reached out to us and was like, we have this new merch line. Our idea is 70s summer camp food fight. And like that was it.
And we were like, tell us more about your idea. And they were like, that's it.
They're like,
run with that.
They're like, our new merch line it's based on the fact that like everyone's staying in more. So we've got sweatpants and like things that you do at home by yourself, because everyone's just hanging out at home. And so they kind of said food fight, and they were like, we know we can't make that happen. I was like, we can do that. We can make that happen. We can do a food fight.
There's a Gordon food service that will deliver to us. Like we can get this like weird bulk cafeteria food.
Like
we made
institutional food.
Or like Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, all the classic camp foods. And they actually just let us run with it, and they didn't know this was done in under a week.
Under a week. They were just like, we got to get it done next week. And we were like, okay.
And they're like, just do whatever you can do or want to do. And so we looked at their, all of their logos and branding. They also had this great log cabin in their branding. And so we're going to build two sets. We're going to do one that's a log cabin and one that's the summer camp cafeteria. So they were obviously very thrilled when they walked in, because they had no idea.
And they were like, we didn't know that this was going to be this. And they'd been here before. We're like, guys, you've come here. You know that we have the ability to do it. But I think that's what's so.
It was a very tight deadline, though. So
you're blowing my mind with the 1 week. They're like, food fight, 70s camp, and then you guys are like, cool. Come back in like a week, and we'll be ready for it. We'll have done casting.
Not how we work.
Set.
Just right out there, not usually how we work.
Please don't call us.
Please don't tell us a week before.
No.
Also, too, there were so many things we wanted to do that we just couldn't on such a tight timeline. So.
Well, what happened was we had like 3 or 4 jobs that were supposed. One of them got pushed September.
Yeah.
One of them was supposed to be a cookbook, and then something happened with the restaurant where like the partnership was changing hands. Like it just happened that week, and it was like
it suddenly freed up a couple of days.
Because they had said, "Hey, can you shoot?" And we're like, our hands are tied. We can't do anything about this. And then within 24 hours, a bunch of stuff shifted, and we were like, "Well,
we can do this now if you want.
Why don't we do this?" And they're like, "We just have a really tight timeline." But we built both scenes. We had, I don't know if you see the red carpeting in that photo. We ripped that out of an old house we went to an estate sale, and we heard the older guy at the front being like, "Yeah, they're going to come and demolish this place in a week." This place was a time capsule. It was the coolest
different
place.
shag carpeting in every room.
It was so great. And so we came back with box cutters, and we asked if we could just take like a big square. And he's like, "You're nice girls. You don't want this." And like, "Excuse me, you don't know me, sir. I want this carpeting. I need this."
It was perfect.
It was great. So we're waiting for another time to use it.
Actually, in the club backdrops, the yellow one with that weird, like, actually, it's similar to this
almost
stuff.
like this.
Yeah, that's also.
That
was in their kitchen, like up against their cabinets, and we're like, "We're gonna take these panels." And he's like, "You can take anything you want."
And funny, but we have one of the ones that was we took one of the ceiling panels out, and he was like, "Girls, what do you need this for?" And I'm like,
so now we start seeing these estate sale guys pretty regularly now. And like I bring them postcards with the photos on them. I'll be like, see, this is what we do. And he's like, like, who pays for this? And like, nobody pays for that.
Someone eventually will pay me, as I keep telling my dad. One day someone will pay me for this. He's like, "Well, what happened to the food and the weddings?" I'm like, "They'll come back eventually. The food will come back. The weddings, someone else will shoot."
Oh, I know. Yeah, the weddings, like, I feel horrible for anyone in that market right now.
That's a terrible
It was supposed to be like just everyone. You could always get a job in weddings. Like
that was like the reliable thing.
Yeah. Turns out making crazy stuff in your work live space is the jam. That's where it's at. That's where it ended up being. Okay, so for people who are like, looking at your work and passing out and then recovering from their pass out and going like, "Oh my God, I want to be them when I grow up." How do they get to where you are? Because I'm sure, your path wasn't clear, wasn't point A to point B, but like if someone who's interested in doing work like you do, what are some good tips for someone who's not trying to copy you, but trying to,
I was going to say, honestly, like a lot of our stuff that we started doing is super, super low budget. Like and
surprisingly low
like
budget.
Even the artist diet that I did, like I said, we photographed it in an unfinished basement with all natural light, just the light that was coming in, and a table lamp.
Lights.
We had no lights there, nothing else. So it was as bare bones as it comes. And most of the stuff came from thrift shops and estate sales. So that's
like a
really
quarter a piece. The most expensive part was ordering the food and like cooking up the steak and the oysters, which I did.
But I think really, I always tell people, like, just to find something that you're passionate about, that you want to tell a story about. It even could be something in your childhood that you have a strong memory with. And when it comes to food, that I think that's the easiest thing. Or just anything about like being in your room as a child, like what are the things you remember, and just do something based around that, because that's what you know, and that's where you're going to really have fun playing with the different elements. You're like, I really remember this part of it. And it's just about storytelling. It's like, start telling stories with your pictures. It doesn't have to be anything super elaborate. And honestly, one of the people that I love to reference is Henry Hargraves and his work, because he always says too, it's not technical at all. It's what he's putting in front of the camera. So
and it's a hard thing for younger people to get at. I feel like now it's a little bit easier, because when I was coming into the scene, it was like, you could still do film, you could do digital. It was a little muddy, and no one asked me like, what are you like passionate about? Like, what do you really want to do? It was always kind of like, well, just kind of get another job and then figure it out. Really, Michelle was the first person to be like, well, what do you like? A dream life. What would you do? And I'm like, well, I can't make money as a photographer, because people had told me, other photographers had told me, you can't make money at this. Get married. Real thing they told me. Get married, and then your husband will have a job.
Oh my God. Come on.
I was like, I don't understand. This was an adult man who him and his wife told me to do that. And I'm like, I don't think that's correct. Like, just get a regular job. And when I met Michelle, I was considering going to back work a nonprofit again. And it's disheartening for younger people when they feel like they don't have anyone to work with. Find some nice people around you.
I think it's better now, like with Instagram and everything online. There's communities.
Connect with other creative
There's
people.
communities now that were not available when I was starting out. So And, you know, when every door is shut in your face, when you're younger, you get very discouraged. And you're like, I don't know where to go or what I'm doing. But now, like, there's a wealth of information out there. And
if you really want it, we've talked to some people, they're like, they really want like a 1, 2, 3 step answer to like, how do I get here? I'm like, keep
and like,
playing
just
around.
do it. Just do it for like 5 to 10 years. Like, just
do it for
just
5 to 10 years, and you'll definitely get there.
You'll get there.
It took us 10 years to get to this.
And you'll hate everything you did at the beginning. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, so I want to touch on what you said, because like that people didn't really value what you were bringing or what you were trying to do when you were younger. Do you think that was because you didn't have the experience, or because you were too young to be taken seriously, or?
I think it's probably a little of both.
It was a lot of everything, and it's so sad to say that it was a lot of like women photographers. I would search out women photographers in the area and like knock on their door, like, I work for free. I'll just like come, like, let me intern. Like, my parents were really sweet, and they were helping me pay for community college, and they were like, oh, go be an artist, sure, do whatever you want to do. Like, go be a nurse in 2 years. Don't worry about it. But so I was able to go and find an internship, and no one would give me an internship. And I still face this a little bit today, where I will hear from these like same people, and they're like, oh, like, it's great to see you're doing so well. And I'm like, would have been probably a lot easier if you would just like let me carry your bags and see what you did. It took about 5 years to have someone let me carry their bags for free. It was very strange.
Detroit is a small market too, though. It's very small, very tight knit. And I think that it's still an issue when you have young photographers and you try to reach out to the people who have been around. Everyone's a little protective of everything. And like, I understand it, but I've just never been that way. And she was never that way.
No.
We talked to each other really openly as soon as we met about everything that we were doing. There's no secrets to this. There's really not.
I was so nervous to meet her. I had to ask a mutual friend. I didn't know that it was her. I didn't know she was going to be there. I had never met her before. I'd only seen her work in passing. So when I saw this mutual friend, I'm like, do you know Michelle Gerard? Could you introduce me to her? By the way, this happens when we're out in the world places. People will come up to her and go, are you Michelle Gerard? And they like find her. We'll get fangirls for her. And I'm just like, I know. But I had to have someone introduce me to her, because I was used to people being really like, they weren't rude. They weren't really interested. And so immediately she was like, started sending me jobs that she was either too busy to take, or she was like, you know, this is a little bit low paying, or, you know, I'm a little too busy. You can take it, or it'll be good for you. It started inviting me on her food shoots and was like, come eat the food. We have food for 20 people here, and it's going to go in the garbage.
It's a fantastic way to make friends.
Shockingly, a lot of people didn't show up, but I showed up consistently.
Yes, you did. You kept showing up.
I kept showing up, and I just really wanted to learn and be around you. And you were such a passionate, exciting person. And
anyone is free to email us at any time.
You want to come
have
to
a question, or if you have a question about something we're doing, we are happy to share all the time.
My dad usually eats all the food. I just bring it to his house. I'm like, take all this food, because I can't possibly eat it. But we wish people in every area. We found some really great people, like Tammy. Like, we just started like messaging her, and we're like, we're friends from a distance now. We send postcards. And we want people to be a little more open about it, and we've made some really.
We always
nice
say
friends.
Like, community over competition. Like, you know,
come from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. There's more than enough to go around.
There is, and everybody's kind of got their own sort of jam too. You know, like, I don't know, like it's possible to admire your work without feeling like my work's not got a home, and you know, everybody else. Like, we all have our own little thing, whatever we're good at.
And we get inquiries for things that we're like, we definitely don't do that, but we know several great people who we can send you to.
We send jobs to other photographers, even if it's not completely reciprocal. Like, we're happy to send work to other people that it's not perfect for us, or it's just not what we're doing. There's some stuff, I think last year, that we sent to Max. It's like very lighting technical and very different. And we were like, this is your guy.
This is not us.
There was a car photography. There was like,
oh my God,
neons. It was really like.
And we live in Detroit, and we don't do car photography. So
we're like a garage door in front. So I mean, and he does that. And so I was like, you can call him. And he was like, thank you so much. Like, well, we don't do it. So we're not just gonna go, oh, sorry, can't help you.
Good luck with that.
Why not? I would hope to be remembered as the helpful people.
I think that's a good sentiment. And I think also, for sure, like, Instagram and everything has really opened up a lot of people, especially during this whole COVID thing, because that's how all of this started. The Foodies on Set was just basically like, I'm not really doing any commercial stuff right now. What's everybody up to? Let's talk about it. Because I thought also it'd be really cool for people to hear what happens behind the scenes. And, you know, maybe you're a client or maybe you're somebody who's interested in getting into the business. But I think it's, you know, opening it up and, you know, getting us all together and sharing our stories. I think this is now a really good time to be doing that, you know, more so than any time probably in the past even. So.
And I'm so glad to see more food styling information, because I think that was something that we see so much photography, but food styling was a little bit harder to come across. And now it's getting out there more and more. And that's helpful for us because we are still learning it.
Yeah. Well, so there seems to be, in my time in this world, there's like two roads in. There's like the art school crafty side of things. Like, I know this is mushy and this is sticky and this will, you know, caramelize and this will do that. And I can make it look like this. And then there's the, you know, culinary school arm of things, and they know how to actually make it so that it's actually proper 100%, you know. And I think, you know, there's room for both, but it's really interesting also how complex it all is. There's probably like 80 ways to do any one thing in food styling. And the more you work with more people, like the more your sort of group of people that you run into and get to know, the more your skills are going to grow too. Like working in your bubble's cool and all, but like reach out and get to know people. And I mean, like, it's amazing. I have a trick for this, and then they've got a trick and it's different and I like it better, or that's great for this or that, you know, like it's amazing. It's like Photoshop. You could do any number of things in Photoshop like 8 different ways.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And food stylists the same way.
To any food stylists who are looking to travel or move, come here, because there's not enough food stylists here.
We have great ones, but they're just such high demand.
We have like some, but they're all in such high demand because they're always booked.
Yeah.
So we need more food and prop stylists.
And ones that want to work on just like fun, creative stuff, because the ones that are booked, I mean, I would never want to take someone away from a paying job. Obviously, like they have to go where the money is. But if I'm like, I'm working on this really cool, fun thing that I've poured $1,000 into and I'm just doing this project, do you want to come and be a part of it? They can't always say yes because
they're booked on a 3-week project for a grocery store.
Like I get it.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see more people come here for that, and more people come to be creative and find avenues. We've talked to cookbook people. We're like, well, if we have a cookbook coming, we're going to have to call Tammy. Because we're going to fly her.
Tammy's going to have to come up.
She's just coming up a lot in this. This is like a love note to Tammy.
My hands are tied. I have to call her.
She knows.
So top 3 things that a food stylist would love about Detroit, because there are plenty. Give us a,
I mean, can we just mention the very affordable rent?
Yes. Can I say that?
Low overhead.
You can buy a mansion for pennies.
You can actually get a large place here for pretty cheap. And like just there are some amazing chefs and restaurants here that, you know, are really starting to get recognition. And
they're really great.
Even despite everything going on, they're still growing.
Not only the chefs that are getting recognition, but if anyone's ever been in a restaurant ever, ever stepped into a restaurant and you understand the basics of it, you understand that the chef is amazing, of course, but you know who's amazing? The pastry chef.
Yep.
Their sous chef. The guy who just started 3 weeks ago and is somehow a genius at everything he does and is just like fresh off like a couple of years in a community college across the state. It's like he just came here and he picked up a knife for the first time, and yet he's amazing. Those people are so hungry and so talented, and we don't get enough attention for those people. And they're like, I don't really know how to get out there. I'm just back here making egg rolls. And I'm like, you're doing great. Make them all day long. And like we got the space. We wanted to do more pop-ups and highlight more of those people because they're incredibly talented and they do not get enough of the spotlight. But
they're just head down working all the time though, and we're like, we want to bring you exposure. Yes,
because we're head down working so much of the time, so you find a lot of very like-minded, hardworking people here.
But so there's lots and lots of people to collaborate with.
Very collaborative. What's another really great thing about it?
You're so close to Canada too.
So I know.
You got like a blended.
You can't go right now, but
no, that's true.
We're
They're
so
not
closed
letting
down.
Forget that.
It's actually very.
I don't know if they'll ever let us in ever again.
I don't know. They're not really interested right now, which I can't blame them. The first time I went to like Oregon and Washington, I was like, this is just a larger Michigan. Like we've got a lot of trees and like coastline and stuff. You have
a lot of trees, a lot of lakes.
It's really beautiful. Like it's actually a beautiful place to be here. Within a couple hours, it's gorgeous. I do think we have a wealth of a lot of things here. People found themselves here, and we're working here. Very creative, very open, more than you would think.
Yeah. Well, this has been fantastic, and I'm so glad we got this on the books because, like I said, when we got to talking about the Coben style, I was like, oh my God, wait, I totally forgot. I meant to reach out to you guys, and you like, because I took a little bit of a breather, and I'm gonna try to get this back up and rolling again. And I was like, oh my God, to get you guys on here would be fantastic. So
we're so happy you're
thrilled.
doing this.
Thank
and
you
you
so
thought
much.
of us.
It's just, your work is just so much fun to see, and it brightens up my day when I see it come across the feed, and I'm like, oh my God, there's another amazing image, and it tells an amazing story. And I love the nostalgia too, because it ticks all the boxes for me. I love all of it. So yeah, I just keep up the great work. And if I have other questions, if anybody happens to come to me and has questions, I'll send them to you. But if we want to do this again sometime, would you guys be up for it?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
anytime.
Excellent. All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. It was great to have you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day. May this week be ultimately productive and amazing for you.
Thank you so much. All right, bye.
Take care. Stay safe. Subscribe, like the video. I just want to make sure you guys don't miss out on any fabulous interviews.